Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the market in EVE Online. Now last week we saw the launch of the new skin system, which was almost immediately followed by an interesting bug that allows people to put any skin on any ship. And they've been experimenting with that. CCP's answer to it is that they are not releasing anything like that at the moment because a lot of these skins have not been vetted by quality assurance, and so they may have an impact on the performance, but a lot of people are saying that, well, I don't notice any impact or anything like that. So just look at what you could do with the skin system. You could actually allow people to buy it and to put it on any ship, which, well, would probably make all of the skins very cheap compared to what they cost now. They're pretty expensive sometimes just to put on a single ship. But yeah, I'm staying on the sidelines here. I don't know how to replicate the bug or how to get skins on different ships or anything like that, and I'll just see how all of this is going to play out. I think it's pretty interesting nonetheless. It's always in EVE Online, of course, where the player base tends to push features to their limit and find interesting bugs like that. Anyways, we are here for the market, of course, and straight away we'll start with plex, and that will be 120. Let's take a look here, because you may have already seen it from the bar at the bottom that we're pretty much in a general depression. Everything is going down, it seems. So here are the plex. They are taking a bit of a break from their increase in price, and I actually think the reason is very easy. It's because there is a plex sale going on, 10% off on everything. CCP Falcon, I think, is the one that announced it, or at least how I saw it on Twitter, I think it was, or on Reddit. And that of course does mean that people can actually afford a couple extra plexes. They bring those to the market to turn it into ISK, and here is the result of that. Plexus going back down a little bit. The question is, how long is this going to last? How big will the effect be? Will the 5-day moving average cross the 20-day moving average? Will we go back towards an 800 million? It's possible, but it's just too early to tell. And we are looking at 833 for the sellers, 825 for the buyers. So 834 is where a lot of the sell orders actually do start. Yeah, it's interesting that the sale does have an immediate impact on the plex prices. Let's take a look at multiple pilot certificate here. That one is hesitating a little bit, still holding at like 835, but it's at 845 for the sellers, 821, 822 I should say for the buyers. So that one is lagging behind a little bit, but you can also see that the increase in price has finally stopped. And so it is possible that there's some conversions that will need to be done from plex to multiple pilot certificates. But if plex gains maintain a downward trend a little bit, so will this pretty soon, I think. And then we've got the body resculpt, which is actually going below the price it was a month ago. That is interesting how this one manages to maintain a downward momentum here, and we could head towards 160, maybe even 150 if this keeps up, and that would indicate that both plex and the multiple pilot certificate may start to go down, and we'll maybe see 800 million or something like that again if I look at this body resculpt chart. So pretty interesting stuff, interesting market as always, and this is of course one that people that want to sub their accounts with in-game ISK need to keep a close eye on. I also made that video about how you can do it on a trial account. I'm just going to reiterate my biggest point there. Keep an eye on the opportunity cost. How much time are you going to spend on a trial account trying to plex it for the first time, compared to just paying $15. But of course it is always like a psychological thing that people want to play for free if they can play for free, even if it means spending a lot of time in it. Yeah, it's a trap that's easy to fall into. But yeah, glad to see plex going down, back down just a little bit for people that want to sub their accounts through the plex system, and this is the effect of the sale, of course. Next up we'll check out minerals, and that's 435. There we go. We'll start with 6-month titanium chart. You can actually see that now the downtrend is very visible, and it's already lower than what we had 6 months ago. So we had a nice little spike up here, then titanium managed to maintain itself around 6 ISK for quite a while, but here April, down it goes, probably with the announcement of the rebalancing of the ores and minerals in nullsec. And yeah, this is a pretty significant impact. Viewing this from a 6-month chart, on a 1-month chart it doesn't look that dramatic, but going from 6 ISK to 5.3 ISK or lower than that in just a month, it's a significant move down, so pretty interesting here. We're looking at 525 for the sellers, which are still in pretty decent numbers, and then 514 for the buyers. Here 509, there is a billion of them being got, so this is what keeps surprising me, despite the fact that we've been going down for a whole month now. The demand still seems to be there. You do see big 1 billion unit orders coming in, and this one is new, so this one is more than a day old though. Very opportunistic also at 508, but that demand still seems to be there, and despite that fact, titanium is going down quite seriously. Here's the pyrite chart then. A little bit more hesitation in pyrite. You know, we knew a bit of a spurt up just before April and then going down, but not as drastically or as uniformly as the titanium chart. Still here now we are starting to go down a bit more significantly. Let's see what the prices are at the moment. 1176 for the sellers, 1169 for the buyers. Very small margin. Demand here is 160 million units, here is 100 million units, 80 million units, the latest order, trying to point to the previous one. Supply though 160, 230, 160, 165. Here on the pyrite chart numbers, I do see more supply than demand, and we do see that here we are correcting quite more significantly than we did in the last few weeks or so. Still, the trend is clear. Since April we are going down for pyrite as well. Next up we've got Mixalon here. That one comes off of a high 6 months ago, managed to maintain a price of above 60 ISK for quite a while, and again you can see the April trigger here going down now below 48 ISK. Yep, 47.57 for the sellers, 47.10 for the buyers. Margins are closing, so I think we could be close to where these minerals will start to move sideways, but the trend here is pretty clear. High-sec minerals going down, so your high-sec mining is going to bring in a lot less money than it did like 2 months ago or something like that. Here is the isogen charts. That one is not looking that bad. If you consider we start at 120, we end at 120. Still, we've known better times, of course, with a high of 135, almost 140 even. And again here, starting in April, the trend was really broken and we start going down significantly. Let's take a look at supply demand to see if maybe it's going to keep going down or might stop. 12 to 13 million, 40 million units. You're not seeing that on the supply side here. So despite the fact that we're at 118 for the sellers and 117 for the buyers, again a small margin, I do think that isogen could actually go lower because there is oversupply in this now. Next up we'll take a look at Noxium, which I think a lot of that doesn't come from high-sec, but it is possible to mine that in high-sec in some systems. And here again you can see that it actually went up for 4 or 5 months straight up until April, and now it is also going back down. Still, Noxium is doing okay, because I think if I go for a 1-year chart, it had to crawl out of quite a hole here to go back up, and we're still at the previous bottom of like 620 or something like that. As long as we're not heading back below 540 as we did right here, it's still sort of okay for the Noxium markets. But yeah, in the last month or so, going from 660 down to 610, it is of course a serious move down, so we should really count Noxium amongst the high-sec minerals in its behavior for now, for the last 6 months or so. And we are looking at 610 pretty much for the sellers, 600 for the buyers. So yeah, the buyers want the price of Noxium to go down. Volumes here 3 million, 1.53 million, 1.6 million, and again some 4 million, but all of this is below 600, so I would not be surprised that we'll see Noxium below 600 quite soon, judging from where the buyers are trying to purchase it. So that's a lot of pressure on this, and I actually think that people will have the patience to try and bring the price back down, considering the trend since the beginning of April. Next up we'll check out the nullsec ones, of course. Let's start with Zydrine here. That's quite different. while Zydrine had been languishing at its bottom of around 400 ISK for a good 4 or 5 months here. If I go for the 1 year chart, yeah, this is just the tail end of a downtrend that was sustained for a very, very long time. And now here with the rebalance, we can see that Zydrine is one of the real winners here, going from 400 ISK to 1400 ISK. Now it's trying to find a bit of a more stable price. We're still trending very slowly down a little bit. But sellers 1300 pretty much, buyers 1230, still a little bit of margin, so we still need to close that gap just a little bit. But I think yeah, it will probably stay above 1200, you know, between 1200 and 1300, probably where we'll see Zydrine for the upcoming weeks. Next up we've got Megasite here. Again, that's of course very similar, going from around 750, I think, close as a bottom, to a top of 2400, but now managing to maintain itself around 2000 ISK. Sellers 2100, buyers 2100, at least one of them. The other one's 2000, but we'll see Megasite stay above 2000 ISK, it seems, from these numbers. So yeah, the mineral market, that nullsec rebalanced by CCP, making a big change up, you know, very bad for the high-sec minerals, very good for the nullsec ones. Those have pretty much tripled in price, and I think a lot of the idea behind all of this is of course to get more activity in nullsec, get mining in nullsec, try and get industry going in there with its own cycles, its own production, so that it can actually become a bit more independent. Considering, you know, if I try to look at a broader spectrum with the rebalancing of the sovereignty mechanics, how easy it is going to be to potentially grab space from people that are not paying too much attention, meaning that if you can then build up your forces locally without needing as much logistics from that, it could just be a bit of a push to get smaller entities into nullsec, giving them a chance to grab some sovereignty, get a more vibrant nullsec going in there. I think all of that is linked together to try and make nullsec a more exciting place once again, because it's been very stale for a few years now, or at least I would say for about a year or so. It's really, we haven't seen that much activity in nullsec, or that much changing. Although now, of course, with the announced changes, I have to be honest as well, there is a lot of chess playing going on there, with people receiving sovereignty, giving it away, wars that are being waged now that are pretty much preparations for all of these changes. So will CCP succeed in making nullsec less static? It's hard to say, of course, because there is just so much power and so much stuff already in nullsec. Still, I think all of this is an attempt by CCP to get people into nullsec. Next up, we'll take a look at the impact on Tech 1 chips, and that's 1315 for Tech 1 chips. Let's keep the 6-month chart here, and we can see for the Apocalypse starting at 175, an average for the first 4 or 5 months of that. Now slowly trending up here towards 180. Sellers are at 182, buyers 174, so it could actually still be okay. But I do think that will slowly go up because of the mineral changes here. Next up, we've got the Caracal. Again, a slow uptrend is visible here, especially if you consider a bounce from the 5-day moving average off of, what is that, 11 million rather than a 10.5, where I would put an average of the Caracal in the first 4 or 5 months or so. It could be that the Caracal is going to settle a bit higher at like 11 or just above 11 million. That is possible. Now the Caracal shows these spiky spikes here on the chart. I think because nullsec alliances have been fleeting a lot of big Caracal fleets. They're pretty cheap but pretty effective as well in what they need to do. And so this is binge buying by some big alliances, buying up pretty much all of the Caracals that are on the market, moving them to nullsec, and then using them, of course. And this is causing these big prices to spike here. Or big price spikes is what I should have said, but I think this could also start to slow down, you know, if nullsec can actually manufacture itself, its own fleets a bit more effectively, if they can get manufacturing to move there, which honestly industrialists and miners tend to be risk averse. This could be something that we'll see less and less because of that. Next up, we've got the Dominics here. Good to see it finally go back down here at the tail end, breaking the 190 million. This gives me some hope that the increase in price won't be as dramatic. The decrease in the high-sec mineral price could actually negate the increased need for Zydrine and Megasite in the production of these ships. So this actually looks quite okay from the Dominic's perspective, back to 190, 195, which is the average I would put for again the first 4 or 5 months here. So that's good to see. Dominic's fleets, I guess, have been bought here as well on occasion because of these spikes that you're seeing at the end of the chart here. But 193, a couple of coming in, 196 for most sellers, and then 183 for the buyers. That's actually okay, you know, putting the Dominics back in line around 190. Very good news, I think. Next up here we've got the Myrmidon. Again, 51, 52 million where it was usually, and now we seem to be just a million higher for the Myrmidon, and settling at around that position. 53.4 million for the sellers, 48 for the buyers, so there is still a bit of pressure to go back down. We'll see if that ever materializes. Next up we've got the Stabber chart. Oh, that's interesting. That one is also going back down below the 10 million mark. So 10 to 10.5 billion. The Stabber has been very, very stable here for the first 3-4 months of this chart. Then quite a bit of price spikes. That is, again, just like with the Caracal, probably either investors or Gnostic alliances buying a couple of Stabber fleets. But we're back down below 10 million. So industrial guys have said, okay, we're gonna start making extra Stabbers because people actually do seem to want them. A bit of overproduction, and here is the result. We're actually down below what I would have called the average price a few months ago. Here's the Tornado chart then. That one is showing that slight increase in price, where you can see in the first part here we were below 66 million on average for most of the chart. Now we seem to be just above that for most of the chart. So the Tornadoes, pretty healthy market though, 67 million for the sellers, 63.5 for the buyers. Plenty of supply, plenty of demand as well. That looks like a pretty good market, and with nothing too special on either side. You know, the Stabber, it's pretty obvious here that demand has stopped and there is oversupply because people wanted to sell those Stabbers at those higher prices above 11 million, and this is of course the result of that. You'll see some lower prices for Stabbers for a while this extra supply gets absorbed by the market. Tornado though looks pretty healthy on both supply and demand, and then you can see that on average we are a little bit higher than what we were before these mineral changes. And here is then the Vexor chart. Pretty good show of stability, just below 11.5 million, and we are back there again. So a couple of spikes, a bit of overproduction in all likeliness. Yep, exactly. A bit of oversupply that's happening here at the moment. Look at that, 145 coming in, trying to sell at 11.6 million, which is quite a bit more, but now they're forced back down towards 10.8 right here for the sellers, and so this is causing this chart to go below the average that I would put a normal Vexor. So good news, guys, there is still that potential in industry to create extra ships. I think a lot of them have been busy as well, trying to make a lot of these ships before the changes to the needed amounts of Zydrine and Megasite in these ships, and as a result, on any price spike people can jump in with a lot of supply, and thus you can actually pick some Vexors up at a pretty cheap price. Same with the Stabber right here. Interesting stuff in the mineral market. I'm surprised it was so stable since like last summer and even before that, but these mineral changes have caused quite a bit of strange things to happen, some movement in the Tech 1 market, but overall it seems like we'll be maybe a little bit higher on the bigger ships, and the smaller ships will actually stay pretty much where they are. Those are my expectations for the Tech 1 market. Next up we've got the Tech 2 market. Let's see if I can find some trade stuff that we might want to check out. 1920 for that. Quick check of these. I think Basilisk too stable still, so that's not too good here. Here's the Golem again moving back up towards an average of 1.12 billion. I'm actually going to remove that one now, because these Marauders, the volumes are not big enough and it's just too risky a trade. I would never advise doing that. I was checking it out to see if it's a possibility, but I wouldn't. Here is the Guardian again, going to pretty much an all-time low. What are the buyers at? 109 million, buy orders below 110. That's pretty damn cheap for a Guardian. 124 for the sellers, pretty wide gap. If you can pick a few up, honestly, this could be a decent investment. I have a few cheap Guardians. Next up here we've got the Hound. Maybe I should check it out here on the 1 month chart. It looks like it's finally stopping its descent here, and then I think that is when the interesting times are going to start. Once that bottom has been reached and people will actually go back into some of these covered up frigates, buying them could have been a very good idea. And you may have seen from one of my previous videos, I've spent a few hundred million invested in some of these really cheap covered up frigates. So Hound very low again. Here is the Manticore. Well, that one is trying to bounce off of 21 million, which I think is a bit too expensive. I definitely prefer the Hound being closer to 16 or even 15 million, 15.5 million for purchasing. The Manticore has been a bit of an outlier. Maybe it's got some extra popularity for some reason, but I don't think it's costing that much more to make a Manticore, so I would not invest in that one. But oh, the Nemesis, very nice. I bought a few last week, and here it is. That's what I wanted to see. It reached 17.8 million as a bottom and now way back up here. So again, sellers are heading towards 20 million. Buyers have already followed suit to 18.3 million. So not bad, and glad to see that this market is actually alive. So it was a good gamble. I bought some Nemesises, and I'll probably be able to make a decent profit on them already. I may just hold on a bit longer, wait for a spike well above 20 million or something like that. But glad to see it is alive, and I did buy right here on that dip, so pretty good stuff. Here is the Oneros chart. So this is actually 3 months. Let's go back to 6 months. Again, here, look at that, going down, and seemingly, oh my god, what's happening? Is it really breaking this Tech 2 market? But no, look at that, back up to 150 million here. You could have bought them below 140, 10 million. It's a little low. If you had to be able to buy it like 135, something like that, which on the buy orders I think was possible, but immediate 10% profit in less than a week, not bad. Here's the Paladin, way too stable, so goodbye Marauders, not gonna check that for trade opportunities. Purifier languishing at the bottom of 16.5. I bought a couple. I think it's got potential to go back up, but we'll need to wait for that, because there is still big supply here for the purifiers. So maybe you can still pick a few up pretty cheaply, close to 16 million, and it could be a good investment. It's something I've gambled on for just a bit of money. And here's the Scimitar. It went as low as 115 pretty much. A bit of a spike back up, but it's still hesitating and going lower again. So 115.3 for the buy orders. If you can pick a few of these up, it might really be a good investment. If Nelsik decides on some worrying because of the Entosis link and buy some of these logistics cruisers, those could be really good investments. So keep an eye on all of that. The Tech 2 market, I'm glad to see the Nemesis proving that it's still alive and well. I was beginning to fear a little bit, but when fear kicks in, that's usually a good idea to actually buy a couple of those. So it tends to be true, and here on this Coved Ops market, it seems to actually be true. So pretty good stuff. Next up, we've got the Tech 3 market, 23.30 for that. 23.30. Confessor, I don't think there's going to be anything new here, just a lot of supply coming in. There is good demand. I have seen from Market Dragon's stream that these Tech 3 destroyers seem to be very popular in faction warfare, so there's definitely demand for them as well. And you can pick a few up at 42 million, which I actually think is not that big of a profit margin on producing them, but there's bound to be some profit in this. And so yeah, it's good, it's well supplied. If you want to fly these, try these, you can definitely do so at very affordable prices. Next up here is the Legion charts. That one is going back up after, well, reaching a bottom of close to 130. There is a bit of buying going on for these fleets. 159 for the buyers, 164 for the sellers. That's definitely not bad. The Legion managing to maintain some upwards momentum, so there seems to be quite a bit of demand. Good stuff. Here is the Loki then, unfortunately. That one's still at its 140 mark, which is yeah, 135 for the buyers, 140, still 49, 32, 31, 14 coming in for these. It's pretty cheap for a Loki, honestly. 140 million, it's not that much. There's huge supply still, so the Legion for some reason did manage to break the mold, did manage to break out a little bit. but let's take a look at supply numbers here. 15, 9, 12. It's not as big as the Loki oversupply, but I think it will come back online pretty soon now that they see these prices. So expect the Legion to go back down pretty soon. I think that's my guess on this. Here's the Proteus. You can see it's already happened for the Proteus. Again, after reaching a bottom of, what would that be, just above 130 million, it did go back up. I guess some big investors or alliances decided, okay, time to buy a few Protei fleet. But now 150 and 144, again here 33.9. You are seeing really a lot of supply coming in, trying to take advantage of these high prices. A lot of competition on the sellers market, so this is gonna put quite a bit of pressure, and we're probably already on the down cycle for the Proteus again. The Zwepel doing quite okay. We're actually selling them for 42 million, which is quite alright, I think, considering it's much newer than the Confessor. Buyers at 39 million. People definitely want to try the Zwepels, but 40 million Tech 3 Destroyer, it seems to be the price. Plenty of supply for those, good demand as well, so that's pretty healthy market. That seems to have found its niche quite successfully. I would say these Tech 3 Destroyers seem to really be a very good idea that CCP came up with. Next up here, the Tengu chart. That one again reaching a bottom of 130, actually touching that one, then going back up, but you can again see that the trend has been broken. 5-day moving average crossing 20-day moving average, so we're definitely going back down. And oversupply 40, 18, 13. Yeah, it is there. These are pretty recent orders, less than 10 hours old, and so the oversupply in the Tech 3 market is just a part of reality. Any increase in price is going to be stopped by this increased supply wherever it comes. I expect the Legion to be next, so by next week we'll be back down again. We'll see really big supply numbers coming in, because being able to sell them above 160, considering all of the other Tech 3 cruisers, is very good news, and people will probably jump on the chance to switch their production to Legions. So yeah, there you go, the Tech 3 market. Unfortunately, I would say overall it's still well oversupplied, or maybe that's lucky for the people that actually do fly them very often and tend to lose them. But for the profit margins, I don't think it's still that great to try and eke out a profit in the Tech 3 market. It's going to be very hard to do. And then for the extra material, 27.45 for that. We are going to check the isotopes. It's something that was requested, and I'm going to try and check those a few times as well. Okay, really big downtrend in the first 2 months or so of a 6-month chart. This is the 1-year chart, starting at 900, and we're now at 700, so that's down quite a bit. And this is usually from ice mining, so it looks like this market knew a serious downtrend at the end of last year, then still going down towards 600 where it was a bottom, and now it's slowly going back up. And we're currently looking for helium isotopes at 710 for the buyers, 726 for the sellers. This feels like a decently uneventful chart since reaching its bottom of 600, but I had no idea that this was actually such a depressed market. So looks like ice mining is going full throttle. There is not a lot of ganking or anything stopping them, including in Nosik probably, where the ice mining fleets can just go about doing their business in a decently quiet and safe Nosik at the moment, causing this price to be very low. But we are seeing a slow trend up in the last few months or so. Let's see if hydrogen isotope follows suit. Yeah, again, that downtrend not as visible as with helium, but a slow downtrend until like, whoa, even April right here with a bottom of 640, and now maybe a little bit of an uptrend visible, but not just yet. So it seems to me like the isotope market is very depressed. Here is nitrogen isotopes, and that one is actually touching a bottom of 780, lowest point in 6 months. Although that one is not as drastic where it comes from, of course. Both of these come from like 800 down to 780. This one is 870 down to 780. Helium isotopes come from a lot further. And here is then oxygen. That's more similar to helium, coming off of 940, reaching a bottom of 700, and we're actually still languishing there. That's that's not really good, you know. It's a very depressed market, so I would not be ice mining at the moment, because those seem to be very low prices for the isotopes at the moment. And I guess if I could quickly check the fuel prices as well, yeah, they seem to be quite low as well, except for the Caldari ones. I think the most popular race, most bosses, and so that could be why. Here's Galente ones, also pretty damn low, and then Minmatar, not a bottom, but pretty low and affordable. So yeah, there you go, guys. Also a look at the isotope market. I would not want to be someone mining ice at the moment, because that's not looking too hot. Anyways, that's it for this Eve Talk then, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all next time.